Look, I need you to listen very carefully to what I'm about to say because the next 10 minutes could determine whether you end up on the right side of history or lose everything you've worked for. Most people are walking around today thinking the biggest news is the latest political scandal or a celebrity tweet, but they are missing the forest for the trees. There is a war happening right now, not in a distant land, but in the very foundation of your life. It's a war for the soul of the American dollar, and for the first time in over 100 years, the people who have been holding us hostage are terrified. I'm talking about the Federal Reserve, and I'm talking about why Donald Trump and Elon Musk have formed an alliance that is specifically designed to dismantle the most powerful private entity in human history. You've heard the rumors, you've seen the memes about DOGE, but you haven't been told the real reason why this final reset is inevitable. Have you ever stopped to ask yourself why your grocery bill doubles every few years while your paycheck stays the same? Have you wondered why the government can spend trillions of dollars they don't have, yet they still come after you for a few $100s in taxes? The answer isn't just inflation. Inflation is a fancy word they use to hide a much darker truth. Inflation is a hidden tax, and the Federal Reserve is the machine that collects it. Think about this. The Federal Reserve is about as Federal Express. It is a private bank owned by a cartel of anonymous commercial banks. And for over a century, it has had the power to print money out of thin air and then lend it back to the United States government with interest. Imagine if you could print your own money in your basement, lend it to your neighbor, and then charge him interest on money you didn't even have to begin with. You'd be the richest person on earth. Well, that's exactly what the Fed has been doing to the American people since 1913, but the party is over. Donald Trump didn't come back to Washington just to cut taxes or build a wall. He came back to finish what he started in his first term, taking back control of the money supply. And he brought the one man who understands systems better than anyone else on the planet, Elon Musk. If you think Elon is just there to fire a few bureaucrats, you are severely underestimating him. Elon doesn't fix broken systems, he deletes them. He did it with the internal combustion engine, he did it with the legacy space industry, and he did it with the media gatekeepers at Twitter. Now he's looking at the Federal Reserve as a piece of legacy software that is riddled with bugs and needs to be completely overwritten. The Federal Reserve is the heart of the deep state. Every war, every failed government program, every bailout for a corrupt bank, it's all funded by the Fed's printing press. Without the Fed, the unelected bureaucrats in DC have no power because they have no money. This is why the DOGE initiative, the Department of Government Efficiency, is so dangerous to the establishment. If Elon and Vivek Ramaswamy can audit the government and prove that we are wasting trillions of dollars, they can then ask the ultimate question: why do we even need to borrow money from a private central bank when we could just issue our own interest-free currency? This isn't a new idea, but it's a forgotten one. Abraham Lincoln did it with greenbacks. John F. Kennedy tried to do it with Executive Order 110. Both times, the banking cartel responded with extreme prejudice. But Trump and Musk are different. They have something those leaders didn't have. They have a decentralized communication platform and a global digital awakening. They aren't just fighting the Fed in the halls of Congress. They are fighting it in the court of public opinion. They are showing you the receipts. When the U.S. national debt hit $36 trillion, it became a mathematical certainty that the current system is dead. We can no longer pay even the interest on our debt without printing more money, which causes more inflation, which requires more interest. It's a death spiral, and Trump knows it. The final reset they are planning is a return to sound money. Now, what does that actually mean for you? It means moving away from a currency backed by nothing and toward a system that is backed by real value. There is a lot of talk about returning to the gold standard, but there's also a high probability that we are moving toward a Bitcoin-backed or commodity-backed digital dollar that is managed on a transparent ledger. Imagine a world where every dollar spent by the government is visible on a blockchain. No more secret bailouts, no more funding foreign wars without your permission, no more devaluing your savings at the push of a button. This is what the central bankers are truly afraid of. They aren't afraid of Trump, they are afraid of losing their invisibility. But don't think for a second they will go quietly. We are entering the most dangerous phase of this transition. The Federal Reserve and its global allies, the IMF, the World Economic Forum, and the billionaire class, are preparing their own version of a reset. They want a central bank digital currency, or CBDC. This is the ultimate trap. A CBDC would allow the Fed to track every single penny you spend. They could turn off your ability to buy meat if you've traveled too much this month. They could freeze your account if they don't like your political views. This is the dystopian reset versus the freedom reset being led by Musk and Trump. It is a battle for the very concept of private property. Elon Musk has been dropping hints for years. His obsession with X, the everything app, is the foundation for a new financial system. He wants to turn X into a platform where money moves as fast as a tweet without the need for a central bank to facilitate the transaction. By integrating payments into a global decentralized network, he is effectively building a parallel economy. He's telling the Fed, you can keep your old dying dollar. We're moving the world to a system that actually works. And with Trump in the White House providing the regulatory air cover, they can dismantle the Fed's monopoly. You might be asking, why would Trump risk everything to do this? Because he understands history. He knows that every empire in history has collapsed because they debased their currency. Rome fell when they started mixing lead with their silver coins. The British Empire faded when they couldn't pay their debts after the world wars. Trump doesn't want to be the captain of a sinking ship. He wants to be the architect of a new one. He's looking at the Federal Reserve as the anchor that is pulling America into the abyss. By cutting that anchor, he believes he can spark the greatest economic boom in human history. But let's get into the truth that the media tries to hide. They tell you that if we abolish the Fed, the economy will collapse. They tell you there will be chaos in the streets. But who is the economy they are talking about? They are talking about the stock portfolios of the 1%. They are talking about the too big to fail banks that have been gambling with your deposits for decades. For the average American, the person who actually works for a living, the death of the Federal Reserve would be the greatest day in their financial life. It would mean that your hard work actually stays in your pocket. It would mean that the price of a home wouldn't be inflated by artificial low interest rates. It would mean a return to sanity. Elon Musk and Trump are essentially performing a hard reboot of the American operating system. When your computer is frozen and the screen is blue, you don't just keep clicking buttons, you pull the plug and restart. The Federal Reserve is the virus that has frozen our economy. DOGE is the antivirus, and the new financial system is the upgrade. This is why you see the unprecedented attacks on Elon Musk. They aren't attacking him because of his tweets. They are attacking him because he is the only man with the technical capability to build a replacement for the central banking system. He has the satellites, he has the payments infrastructure, and he has the trust of millions of people who are tired of being lied to. The bankers know the clock is ticking. They are trying to push us into a major conflict, maybe a war with Iran or a deeper involvement in Ukraine, to create a state of emergency that would allow them to suspend these reforms. This is a classic move from the playbook of the shadow government. Create a crisis, then offer a solution that requires more power and more money. Jeffrey Sachs has warned us about this time and time again. He's told us that the military-industrial banking complex needs war to survive because war is the biggest consumer of credit. When bombs are dropped, money has to be borrowed to replace them. The Fed makes money on every single explosion. Trump's peace through strength is actually an economic attack on the bankers. If there are no wars, there is no massive debt. If there is no debt, there is no power for the Fed. I want you to think about the $2 trillion that Elon and Vivek want to cut. Where do you think that money goes? It goes into the pockets of the contractors and bureaucrats who are the client base of the Federal Reserve. When you cut that waste, you are literally starving the beast. You are cutting off the oxygen to the deep state. This is why the fight over the budget is actually a fight over the existence of the central bank. If we don't need to borrow $2 trillion a year just to keep the lights on, the Fed becomes irrelevant. This final reset is going to be messy. There will be volatility in the markets. There will be terrifying headlines. The Fed will likely raise interest rates to punish the public and blame it on Trump's policies. They will try to cause a recession to turn the people against the DOGE revolution. They will say, look, Elon fired these people and now the market is crashing. But you have to see through the smoke. This is the withdrawal period from a century-long addiction to debt. It's going to hurt, but it's the only way to get clean. Elon and Trump are inviting you to join the producer class. For too long, we have been a consumer class, driven by debt to buy things we don't need with money we don't have to impress people we don't like. The Fed thrives on that cycle, but a sound money system encourages saving, it encourages long-term thinking, and it encourages real production. When Musk talks about Mars or when he talks about humanoid robots, he's talking about creating new wealth, not just moving existing wealth around like a hedge fund manager. He wants to create a world of abundance, while the Fed's entire model is based on creating scarcity to keep people desperate. The reason this video title sounds like a conspiracy to some is because the truth has been hidden for so long. The Federal Reserve Act was passed in the middle of the night on December 23, 1913, when most of Congress had gone home for Christmas. It was a coup d'etat without a single shot being fired. Since then, the value of the dollar has dropped by over 96%. You are working for a currency that is designed to melt in your hand like a piece of ice. Trump and Musk are finally saying, enough. They are handing you a piece of solid ground to stand on. As we move toward 2026, you're going to see a controlled demolition of the old financial world. You're going to see the rise of X payments, the potential for a U.S. Bitcoin reserve, and the dismantling of the UN-elected boards that run the Fed. Trump has already said he believes the president should have a say in interest rate decisions. The media lost their minds over that, saying it would undermine the independence of the Fed. But ask yourself, why should a group of unelected bankers be independent from the people? Why should they have more power over your life than the people you actually voted for? The independence of the Fed is just a code word for accountable to no one. This is the $36 trillion war. It is a war for your future, your children's future, and the future of the human race. If we stay on the central banking path, we end up in a digital serfdom, a high-tech version of the Middle Ages where you own nothing and the elites track everything. If we follow the path being blazed by the disruptors, we have a chance to enter a new era of decentralized freedom. Elon Musk didn't build SpaceX just to go to space. He built it to prove that a private individual can do what a bloated government couldn't. He's now applying that same logic to the very concept of money. Don't be distracted by the sideshows. Don't get caught up in the petty arguments the media wants you to focus on. Keep your eyes on the money. Keep your eyes on the Fed. Watch the way the bankers react when Trump and Elon start talking about audit the Fed and zero-based budgeting. Their reaction will tell you everything you need to know. They are scared because for the first time in 113 years, the people in the White House aren't on their payroll. We are witnessing the great unplugging. Trump is the one pulling the wires out, and Elon is the one building the new motherboard. It's going to be the ride of a lifetime. The final reset isn't something that's happening to you. It's something you can participate in by moving your mindset away from their system. Start thinking in terms of real value. Start understanding the difference between currency and money. Currency is what they print. Money is what has intrinsic value. The Federal Reserve is a ghost. It's a myth that we have all agreed to believe in, but myths only have power as long as people believe them. Elon Musk and Donald Trump are turning the lights on, and the ghost is disappearing. The $2 trillion they are cutting isn't just waste. It's the fuel that keeps the ghost alive. Once that fuel is gone, the Fed has no choice but to fold. And when it does, the American people will finally be free. This is the story of the century. It's a story of courage, it's a story of math, and it's a story of a few brave individuals who decided that the status quo was no longer acceptable. The final reset is here. The Federal Reserve is on notice. And the world is about to find out what happens when the greatest economy on earth finally stops being a slave to the bankers and starts being a master of its own destiny. Take this information and use it to prepare. Understand that the volatility is part of the process. Stay focused on the goal, a transparent, honest, and efficient financial system that serves the people, not the other way around. Trump and Musk are leading the way, but it's up to us to have the courage to follow. The age of the central bank is ending. The age of the individual is beginning. This is the reset we've been waiting for. This is the end of the Federal Reserve, and it's about time. Think about the sheer scale of the deception. For decades, we've been told that we need experts to manage our money because it's too complicated for us to understand. But there's nothing complicated about it. If you spend more than you earn, you go broke. If you print money out of thin air, you devalue the work of everyone else. It's basic morality disguised as complex economics. Trump and Musk are peeling away the layers of jargon to reveal the simple truth. We've been robbed, and we're taking our money back. The Federal Reserve's days are numbered because its model is based on infinite growth on a finite planet with a finite amount of labor. It's a Ponzi scheme that has finally run out of new investors. The only way to keep it going would be to implement a total surveillance state, the CBDC, to force people to stay in the burning building. But Elon Musk has provided a way out. He's provided the lifeboats, whether it's through digital assets, through a more efficient government, or through the sheer power of the X ecosystem. The exit ramps are now open. The final reset is the moment the world realizes the king has no clothes. The bankers have no power without our compliance. When Trump tells the Fed no, and when Elon shows the world the DOGE audit, the compliance ends. The illusion shatters. And in that moment, we will realize that we were always the ones with the power. The 36 trillion debt is their debt, not ours. It was spent by them, on them, for their benefit. We don't have to be the ones to drown with them. We are moving toward a renaissance of common sense, a world where the government is small, the individual is big, and the money is real. It sounds like a dream because we've been living in a nightmare for so long. But the math doesn't lie. The current system is mathematically impossible to sustain. Change is coming whether the bankers like it or not. The only question is, who will lead that change? Will it be the people who want to put you in a digital cage or the people who want to lead you to the stars? I know which side I'm on. I'm on the side of the producers, the builders, and the dreamers. I'm on the side of a future where your hard work is rewarded, not stolen. The final reset is our chance to get it right. It's our chance to reclaim our independence, not just as a nation, but as individuals. Elon Musk and Donald Trump are the catalysts, but we are the fuel. This is our revolution, and it starts with ending the Federal Reserve. Stay strong, stay vigilant. The truth is coming out, and once people see it, there is no going back. The era of the banker is over. The era of the people has begun. Welcome to the final reset. It's time to take back what's ours. As the old guard falls, don't be surprised by the desperation of their attacks. They will try to divide us. They will try to make us fear the very changes that will set us free. But remember, fear is the weapon of the oppressor. Hope and truth are the weapons of the free. We have the truth on our side. We have the math on our side. And for the first time in a century, we have the momentum. The $2 trillion war, the DOGE revolution, and the abolition of the Fed are all parts of the same story. It's the story of a world that decided it had enough of the lies. It's the story of a reset that actually benefits the many instead of the few. And it's a story that is being written right now by people like you who are willing to look at the truth without blinking. So, as you go about your day, look at those dollar bills in your pocket. They aren't just paper. They are symbols of a system that is about to change forever. Don't fear the change. Embrace it. Because on the other side of this final reset is a world where your money belongs to you and your future is limited only by your imagination. The Fed is closing down. The people are opening up. And America is about to be great again in ways we can only begin to imagine. Stay tuned because this is just the beginning. The biggest headlines are still to come. The final reset is in motion and there is no stopping it now. Trust the process, look at the receipts, and get ready for a future that is finally, truly ours.